Franz Joseph's mother, Sophie, for 9 months alone held the imperial court together, finally seeking refuge in the old fortress town of Olmütz in Moravia. And it was here that she engineered the immediate accession of her son, who was young enough to offer the hope of a clean start. And so, amid turmoil and bitterness, sustained by the bayonets of his army, Franz Joseph began a reign that was to last 68 years. He was 18 years old and had everything to learn. He began with a throne, but his empire was in ruins. It was the task of one man to restore it for him. Prince Felix Schwarzenberg, the new prime minister, was a cold and brilliant politician, an aristocrat who despised his own class for having brought the empire to ruin. With Franz Joseph installed at the Hofburg in Vienna, Schwarzenberg set out to rehabilitate the empire, to run it efficiently, and to restore it to its proper place in Europe, with a fresh young ruler firmly in the saddle. And so he began the training. The discipline and order of the Spanish riding school in Vienna relies on the power of the curb and the tight rein. Schwarzenberg believed in both. He also believed in force. He taught Franz Joseph to see himself as ruler and autocrat, divinely appointed and responsible to none but God. The rebels in Italy, in Prague, in Vienna itself were ruthlessly put down. All regarded the boy emperor, so aloof and cold, with sullen hatred. But in Hungary, the rebellion had developed into a fight to the death for national independence. It was now to be brutally crushed. Franz Joseph was learning fast. The Magyars had fought so bravely that in the end they were beaten only through the intervention of the Russian army. Throughout the great Hungarian plain, traditionally the breadbasket of the empire, there was bitterness and hatred for Vienna. But now the fighting was over. Instead of showing mercy, Franz Joseph allowed Schwarzenberg to pile misery upon misery. Many Hungarian patriots died before the firing squads. 200 years earlier, Austria had liberated Hungary from centuries of Turkish oppression. She was now seen only as her jailer. But among the peasants and the squires, who asked only to be left alone, there lived an extraordinary class of resplendent magnates, some of the wealthiest landowners in Europe. Their demands for freedom were too often a demand for power, power to oppress the weak more absolutely than any Austrian emperor. To Schwarzenberg, Hungary was just one of many provinces. On them, he proceeded to impose a centralized German-speaking civil service. They brought all sorts of material benefits to a backward and devastated land. But they were hated. Hated for their efficiency, for their devotion to duty, for their foreignness. In 4 incredible years, Schwarzenberg put Franz Joseph's empire back on its feet. But prisons like the notorious Spielberg in Moravia were still full of brave men whose only crime had been to fight for freedom.